Hey everyone, how are you all doing? I know it's late. You know what? Hold on. So usually I do my videos earlier in the day, but this has been on my mind a lot and I'm just on my nerdy shit, and this is an important topic, okay? So real quick, to introduce myself, in case you don't know me, my name is Isabella, also known as the Body Scientist. I have a background in exercise and sports science and nutrition science. Before I got into that field, I was in biotechnology and I wanted to research cures for genetic diseases. And so I was very much into researching cancer. I'm very much into infectious diseases. So cancer and infectious diseases are two areas of study that I've been a nerd about since the 90s. And my approach to the body, hold on, I have to sneeze. Hold on a second. Who have to sneeze? I don't know what always happens when I get on camera. But anyhow, my approach to the body is I'm always wondering, like, why something happened. Like when people get cancer, when people get any illness, okay, it doesn't just happen for no reason. Okay, there's a reason for it. And so my approach to health in the body has always been to ask why. And through nutrition and through the environment, okay, because the environment affects our genes. Cancer is a genetic disease. People think that that means that you inherited it from your family, but that's not what genetic disease means. Like a genetic disease can be that you inherited those genes, but it can also be that something mutated your genes. A genetic disease just means that your DNA is coding for this, right? So cancer happens when the DNA codes, there's a code that is off and it causes the cells to keep reproducing, okay? And then you have a tumor. Now, how the gene gets like that is not always because, and a lot of times it's not because you inherited it from somebody. It's because of the environment. Things in the environment, it could be in foods, chemicals that you're exposed to, that you're breathing, that mutate your DNA, okay? And this is why if you follow my work, you always see me talking about artificial chemicals and how toxic they are, the stuff you put on your skin, you know, even the type of things you cook with, okay, the type of pots and pans you cook out of, whether or not you use microwaves. Like I don't even have a microwave in my place. I've never had a microwave in my place. I do not use microwaves at all. And even if you don't use one, just being within 100 meters of a microwave exposes you to a lot of damaging radiation. So what I want to talk about, because this is something that I've been researching, you know, on and off for a minute, but we see what happened with Michael Strahan's daughter, okay? I don't know how many people are aware, but Michael Strahan, his daughter Isabella Strahan, announced a couple of days ago that she had a very aggressive brain tumor, okay? At 19 years old, a very aggressive brain tumor. And one thing that I know is that the cancer is very common now, okay? It used to be the heart disease was the #1 killer of all Americans. Now cancer is side to side with heart disease, okay? Maybe even surpassed it. And the fastest growing rate of cancer is in children. I personally have known children who died from brain tumors, okay? I have, a few people. My mom actually just had a coworker whose daughter had a brain tumor, and she moved from New York to California to get life-saving treatment for her daughter, and she still passed away. But I know, I have one friend who was he might have been in his 30s, and this is over a decade ago. This might be in 2009, okay? I knew somebody who got diagnosed with like 11 brain tumors, okay? He had like 11 brain tumors and he died very quickly. Then I knew a young kid, okay, who, my aunt's boyfriend's grandson, he might have been 6. He got a brain tumor out of nowhere, died very quickly. My mom's co-worker, okay? So these brain tumors, so the way I approach the body is I always ask, why is that becoming so common? And everything's becoming an epidemic now. I just posted an article in my stories about colon cancer becoming super common among young people now. Pancreatic cancer, all of these things. So my question is why, right? So when it comes to cell phones, okay, so like, first of all, I don't believe in trying to solve a problem by causing a problem, right? And there's a lot of things in health that you're told by doctors and by medical professionals to do to protect your health with something, but then it causes another problem, okay? Like an example of that, and I'm not going to get super into that in this conversation, but an example of that is talking about safe sex and using latex condoms or polyurethane condoms, which can put microplastics in a woman's vagina, which destroy the pH, the bacterial balance, have a lot of chemicals, toxic chemicals, that are absorbed by the mucous membrane that are cancer-causing, okay? And you see the increase in ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, cervical cancer, okay? And to think that the things that women put in their vagina, chemicals and stuff, whether it be from tampons, from toilet paper, from condoms, they're not affecting your reproductive health, it's naive and incorrect, okay? But most people don't actually look into these studies. And I used to want to be a research scientist, and I decided long ago I didn't want to do that because nobody cares about what the scientists say. I read research all day long, and there's so much research that's clearly stating, that certain things are very dangerous, or certain things are very good and can kill certain viruses, but that never gets to the public. It never gets in the news, okay? Because I talk about this all the time, how pharmaceutical companies and food companies, they run the media, they fund everybody. So you're not going to get that. You're not going to get it in commercial media. You'll have to go dig through studies, which most people aren't doing, and that includes practitioners. So, coming back, looking at my, Isabella Strahan and the situation with her, and I started to really dig deeper because I have always kept my cell phones away from my head, okay? I do not use Bluetooth earphones. You go to the gym, everybody in the gym has Bluetooth headphones on. That is a terrible idea, and a lot of people don't take it seriously when I tell them you're exposing your brain to so much radiation by having Bluetooth headphones on. And people will be like, oh, yeah, but they don't take it that seriously. You don't take it that seriously until, God forbid, you end up with a brain tumor, okay? You don't want that problem, okay? So for me, I believe in prevention, okay? Like true prevention. And true prevention is not holding a cell phone to your head or the Bluetooth, okay? But I'm starting to discover that even regular earphones with the wires that go into your ears are also exposing your brain to a lot of radiation. But the Bluetooth is really bad, okay? And there's so much research on what keeping a cell phone in your pocket does to men's testes, okay? There's so much research on how much it damages sperm in so many ways, okay? The motility, the quantity, the quality, the motility, the numbers. Even studies have shown that, rats that are exposed to cell phone radiation, their testicles even get lighter, okay? They're not even as heavy as the ones who are not. So it extremely damages male reproductive organs. And of course, it's not good for women either. When cell phones are close to women's genitals, it can cause miscarriages, it can cause changes in the ovaries, and people aren't being told this, okay? If you go on YouTube, there's lots of scientists who are speaking for an hour or 90 minutes just presenting this research that's been done all around the world about cell phone radiation, okay? Then you have so many kids, okay? I see so many kids with cell phones and smartphones, okay? Now, if anything that is sending and receiving signals is exposing you to a lot of radiation. And that is bad for adults, okay? But it's especially bad for children, okay? Children are being fried by EMF radiation, holding on to cell phones, holding on to iPads. iPads were never meant to be held in close to people. They're meant to be on a desk, okay? And there are certain European countries where they don't even allow kids to have cell phones at all because of the radiation that they're being exposed to. Okay? And it's crazy to me how many parents I see just put their kids in front of, iPads and cell phones, and it's absolutely bad, okay? You're not helping your children at all by doing that. It's extreme radiation. So I have like pages of notes of things that I want to get into on this topic. Because when I think about brain, first let me just say, when I think about brain health and brain tumors, I think about cell phone radiation. I think, how much did this person hold a cell phone to their head? Are they walking around with Bluetooth speakers, with Bluetooth earphones? Because almost everybody has Bluetooth earphones now. Okay, so I ask those questions. Then I wonder, does that person have MSG in their diet? Okay, now MSG is something that most people are totally unaware. Okay, totally unaware of not only how toxic it is for your brain, but how it is basically in everything. And so I'm just gonna give you a list of different names for MSG. Okay, people hear MSG. Okay, but when you look at food, okay, you're looking at food labels. There's about 40, 50 different names that they call MSG. Okay, and I'm looking for my list, but I'm gonna start just saying them off the top of my head. Anything that says texturized protein. Okay, autolyzed yeast. Natural flavors, artificial flavors, soy protein isolate. Those are all different words for MSG. Dextrose. Okay. I'm trying to find this list. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Dextrose. Oh yeah, here it goes. Okay. So different words for MSG when you're looking at food. Okay. Yeast extract, autolyzed yeast, glutamic acid, sodium caseinate, glutamic acid. I said natural and artificial flavors, which natural flavors and artificial flavors are the same thing. Okay, they're not. When you see this word natural flavors, it's not natural at all. They can call it that based on how they design the chemical bonds, but it's not natural. Okay, natural flavors and artificial flavors are both poison. All right, so both of those also contain MSG. Okay, carrageenan, which you see in a lot of ice creams, but also like vegan products, a lot of them have carrageenan. That's another word for MSG. Malt extract, a lot of times when you see gelatin, hydrolyzed corn gluten, soy sauce, of course, bouillon. Okay, and every time I look at cooking videos on Instagram, and it's somebody from Africa or the Caribbean, all they do is cook with bouillon cubes, Goya, Sazon, adobo. All of that stuff is poison. Maggi, like that. I just found out about Maggi like a few months ago, and it seems that Africans and Caribbeans love Maggi. And I remember when I was in Costa Rica back in like 2010 on the Caribbean coast, where the food is the best. And I remember somebody who was hosting me. She told me the cooks in the Caribbean side of Costa Rica, they go to the store and buy bags of MSG by the pound. Okay, they buy this and they cook with it. And in my travels, because I've traveled a lot, you know, in the Caribbean, I've been to Jamaica, I've been to Cuba, I've been to Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti. I've been to Costa Rica, Mexico, Colombia. I've been to Senegal, and like all those places, and then just being around people from those countries and just watching them cook on YouTube, on Instagram and stuff. They're always using Maggi, bouillon cubes. I go to my African friends' houses, they're making pots of stew, but they're putting bouillon cubes in it. That stuff is MSG about 20 times, and it's seriously toxic for your brain. Okay, MSG is high in glutamate, which is an excitotoxin which destroys your neurons, can cause Alzheimer's, dementia, and brain tumors. Okay, and the thing that people have to understand about cancer, when you add multiple sources of cancer at once, it multiplies the power. So if you're eating a diet that has these ingredients that I just listed, which is in basically every processed food, and most people are eating a lot of processed foods. A lot of people say, oh, somebody so-and-so has money, so they're eating better. No. A lot of people with money, I've been to a lot of people's houses who are high-level doctors, cardiologists, they have money and they have processed crap. They have the coffee creamers, they have the instant coffee, they have the almond milks and the, protein powder because they go to the gym. All this crap, and they have no freaking clue. Okay, no idea. And so it doesn't have anything to do with you having money or not, because people with money still eat a bunch of processed crap. Okay, and so when you combine like the MSG, which is heavy in a lot of foods, unless you're like going and really cooking from scratch, which is what I try to do a lot. So if you have that combined with cell phone radiation, that is a serious prescription for cancer. And looking at this colorectal cancer, how colon cancer is on the rise amongst young people, a lot of it they think is linked to young people carrying their cell phones in their back pocket, in their front pockets. Okay? And the thing is that people have no idea how sinister, see, there's certain things I just want to say freely, but I'm just going to say that I have not gotten monetized for my videos. I've been posting videos on YouTube since 2010. I've had a presence on YouTube. I've never gotten paid for anything that I posted. My YouTube channel, The Body Scientist 81, just got approved to be monetized. But one of the things about monetization is that you can't say a lot of things, and I never want to be restricted in what I'm saying. I just want to be able to tell the truth and just say what I need to say. But at the same time, I think, well, I'm putting all this stuff out for free, It's time consuming. It's researching. It's time consuming. I'm putting it out. And so maybe I just need to be more careful about certain things I say so I can make money off my videos, because it is time consuming. And that's why, I'm going to save some of the more in-depth conversations for my membership pages where I can really, really just talk. Because a lot of things I'm talking about is controversial and it goes against advertisers. That's why you'll never hear the truth about health on the news or in the newspaper. Anything is connected to commercial media, because you cannot offend the advertisers. And who advertises on the news and in commercial magazines? Food companies and drug companies. They're extremely powerful. These cell phone companies are extremely powerful with the information that they've hidden about how damaging cell phone radiation is. Okay? So, also ultrasounds. Okay? You see somebody young with a brain tumor, I wonder, were they exposed to ultrasound radiation technology in the womb? Were their parents getting 4G ultrasounds? You have some women that get several ultrasounds and they're getting super high-tech ultrasounds so they can see every little feature in the face. That's exposing that young brain to a lot of radiation. And the later a woman gets in her pregnancy, the worse it is, okay? And it really fries the brain. Also, and it is linked to, childhood brain tumors are linked to ultrasound radiation as well. So, and then you have, a lot of times women are in labor. They have the fetal monitors on them, which, and Doppler, they use Doppler technology to hear the heart. All of that is sending radiation, exposing that in utero. Then, and it affects the heart rate, okay? So this is why even in labor you have a lot of mothers who will get hooked up to the fetal heart monitor, and then all of a sudden, the baby's heart rate is going crazy, and they're like, oh, the baby's stressed out. Now they're really trying to rush the mother to give birth. But it's that technology, that radiation that's causing that problem. Okay, hold on, man. Let me see something. So those are all the things I ask myself when I look at, something like that. Because I'm like, Michael Strahan's daughter, like, people just don't get cancer out of nowhere. Like, any of these health problems, it doesn't just happen for no reason. And this is a lot of what I do as a practitioner. When I work with people, I do very in-depth evaluations. I ask them very in-depth questions about their habits and what they're eating, very in-depth. Not surface-level stuff. The doctor talks to you about surface-level stuff. And the doctor always tells people nutrition plays no role. I don't care what's going on with you. They're like, oh, yeah, nutrition doesn't really matter. Like, I was just at the doctor with my mom. She went to the eye doctor. I was talking about this eye issue she had and some other videos, and I used cannabis to help her with the issue with her eye. And she went back to the eye doctor, and they were examining. They didn't see any issues, but my mom had a floater in her eye. And they were like, they looked to see, and they didn't see any signs of pathology. And they said, if it gets worse, and blah, blah, blah. And that was all he said. Now, I know that taking cod liver oil, that the vitamin A in cod liver oil can really help with that. I've known people who were seeing floaters, and they started taking a high dose of fermented cod liver oil, and that vitamin A in there helped their eyes. It just took it away. So when I asked the eye doctor if he knew about, the role vitamin A played with getting rid of floaters, he said, oh, no. doesn't play any role at all. That's all doctors say. Like, to me, they're so unimpressive. They are not the ones that's going to help you bring your body back. Anything that you have going on, there's a reason for it. Okay? And pharmaceuticals does not bring your body back into balance at all. Okay? And the doctors, they don't study these things. They should. There are some that do, and I post them on my Instagram page, but they're very far and few between. And a lot of them can't speak up even if they do know, because they have licenses that they need to keep. So anyhow, some notes that I wrote down. The cell phone and the microwave use the same frequency. The difference between them is power. And the power of the microwave oven is 1,000. The baby monitor, Wi-Fi monitors, cordless phones, microwave oven all use the same frequency, but they differ in power. Mobile phones and Wi-Fi devices emit pulsed microwave radiation. So the Wi-Fi devices and the cell phones, they have this pulsed radiation, which is even worse, okay, than like a steady one. Okay, so it's like a pulsing radiation, which causes a lot of damage. It's the pulse, not the power, that seems to be most biologically important. I just said that. The impact of any form of radiation depends on the nature of the waves, the frequency, the amplitude, the pulse, and the wavelength. Okay, so this is all physics, for my physics people out there. All right. 900 times a minute, your cell phone is trying to connect to cell phone towers. Okay. And the worst time to put a phone to your head is when you first answer the phone. When you first answer the phone and you say hello, that's when it's the strongest and the most damaging. Younger heads absorb a lot more radiation. So again, this is bad for adults, but for young people, it's exponentially worse. Okay? Hold on a second. Exponentially worse. So there's this technology called the virtual family, okay, and it's used to set standards for medical procedures and devices, but they never set any standards for cell phones, okay? And bone marrow and reproductive organs are affected by phones in your pocket. So when you keep your cell phone in your pocket, it affects your bone marrow and your reproductive organs. All right? At the end of pregnancy, there's the greatest exposure. The greatest exposure occurs to the fetal head and spinal cord. The skin is completely permeable. All right. So pregnant women must keep mobile devices far away from their belly. Okay, it's very damaging. Tablets and iPads are meant to be on a table. When they tested them at 200 meters away from a big guy. Okay, so that's when they did the research. See, a lot of people don't understand, like, when you see research, a study said this, a study said that. If you don't read the study and know, like, how did they do this study, how did they define certain things, it means nothing. So a lot of times when they say, oh, cell phone radiation doesn't cause harm, look at the way they did those studies. They purposely designed those studies like they'll get some big dude and put him 200 meters away from the phone and say, oh, it doesn't cause a problem. But that's not what's happening. People have phones close to them, and they don't have a big old head like some 280-pound dude. Okay? There are also studies that show that the brain of an infant who's exposed to a mobile phone in utero often does not solve problems efficiently, and they have liver mutations. Okay? A study done in Australia on sperm from men exposed to cell phones. There's a study done in Australia where they measured the mobility, motility, vitality, and mitochondrial DNA damage, and they found that it caused all of those. It messed with the motility, the mobility, mitochondrial DNA damage, all of that. And so it's 3 times as much damage to the DNA in male sperm when exposed to cell phone radiation. There are several studies around the world that have been done on sperm damage and cell phone radiation. Several. The Indian government has issued warnings about, men having cell phones in their pockets or anywhere near their genitals. And a lot of fertility clinics who are working with men are really telling men to keep your cell phones out of your pocket and away from your genitals. It's extremely damaging, okay? A study from the Cleveland Clinic showed that men who have their cell phone in their pocket the longest have the lowest sperm count. And this study was from 2008, okay? And much of this research came from doctors who were treating men at fertility clinics. In India, there were studies done with middle-aged rats, and they exposed them to cell phone radiation for 2 hours a day for 45 days. And those results show that lower testosterone and increases in DNA damage, and the offspring had lower fertility. It even affected the offspring, okay? So a lot of times when we think about the health of offspring, you think about the mother and like what she was consuming when she was pregnant, which really matters. But what the man was consuming and doing also matters. And men can contribute damaged DNA. And so this is saying that men who had their cell phones in their pockets 2 hours a day for 45 days showed lower testosterone, increases in DNA damage, and the offspring had lower fertility. That's major. Major. Okay? And there are studies that show images of how the cell walls and the testes, completely destroyed by cell phone radiation. So various sources of RF EMF exposures can affect brain and testes. It could be a cell phone towers. So 5G definitely affects us, okay? And there's lots of research about that. Wireless internet, laptop, AM radio, TV broadcast, microwave oven. But cell phones are at the highest, okay? So, and you never should put a laptop in your lap. So all of this cell phone radiation, again, talking about men, it influences development of FH and LSH, which are pituitary hormones, which in turn influence the Leydig cells, which also produce testosterone. So all that is affected. And they affect the I said that already. Then you have reactive oxygen species, which can be stimulated by the exposure to radiation, and they directly damage sperm cells. Okay, so there's many mechanisms in which cell phone radiation is destroying sperm. Okay. And even though, because some when you go to Google, see, a lot of times you have to dig for good research. When you go to Google, you'll find studies that say, oh no, studies say that cell phone damage doesn't cause brain tumors, it doesn't cause cancer, right? And they'll say that the radiation is not strong enough to break the bonds in the DNA. But mechanisms of action are important to understand, and this is where chemistry comes into play. Because no, the radiation from cell phones is not strong enough to break the DNA bonds. But there's another mechanism of action as to how it causes this genetic damage. And it damages DNA through a variety of mechanisms, including gene activation. And what did I tell you about cancer? It is certain genes, our genes get turned on and off by things in our environment. Chemicals in the environment, foods we eat, our genes get turned on and off, and our genes can be mutated as well. So the radiation from cell phones can, it can cause genetic damage through gene activation, free radicals, which free radicals are out of control molecules that cause genetic damage. Just so people talk about antioxidants, they bind to free radicals and stop their damage. And it interferes with calcium channels, and calcium channels are so important for the function of the cell. Okay, calcium. If you don't understand basic biology, calcium channels are how things get in and out the cell. I mean, it's critical, and so the calcium channels are also destroyed by the cell phone radiation. And the cell phone radiation codes for proteins that can cause cancer. And when a phone is in the pocket, the highest exposure goes onto the testes and damages the integrity of the membranes. I keep saying that over and over again, right? But studies have also shown that EMF radiation reduce ovarian reserves and disrupt hormone balance in women. Now, of course, if it's going to cause other damage to male sexual organs, you can just easily assume it's going to do that to women as well. Although our stuff is tucked in a little bit more protected, but still, okay? Not good for women to have it by those areas either. Okay, hold on, let me see. Now, there was a researcher at UC Berkeley who took a comprehensive look at 46 different studies from around the world, and it found that the use of cell phones, okay, listen to this, for about 17 minutes a day over a 10-year period increased the risk of tumors by 60%, okay? So, researchers at UC Berkeley looked at 46 different studies from around the world and found that the use of cell phones for about 17 minutes a day for over a 10-year period increased the risk of tumors by 60%, okay? A study out of Yale found an increased risk of thyroid cancer among those who are heavy users. Colorectal cancer, which I said is soaring, in young adults could be linked to carrying cell phones in their front and back pockets. And as I said before, EMF radiation exposure during pregnancy is linked to miscarriages, fluctuations in the fetal temperature and heart rate, as well as infant anthropometric measures, okay? So, I'm like really a nerd about like sciences that involve the body, okay? And how the body works, and you don't learn that. I have an academic background in it, but school gives you a baseline. It is critical to go do research and critically think for years after you receive that education, to make connections, and a lot of practitioners do not do that. A lot of times when you go to, whether it's nutrition, because the field of dietetics and nutrition is severely tainted, whether it's nursing, whether it's medicine, there's a lot of indoctrination because the food companies and the drug companies control the education. And a lot of times when you're a science student, everything is so tough and you're just trying to pass the exams. You're not spending any time doing research on your own. You don't have time to. And then if you're a nurse or a doctor, you can't go against what the American Medical Association says that you can do. If you're a dietitian, that's the reason why I did not become a registered dietitian. Because when you're a registered dietitian, you can't go against the American Dietetic Association. And a lot of things that they're telling people is completely wrong information. And I never wanted to be responsible for somebody coming to me and trusting their health with me. And I'm giving them disease-causing advice because I'm trying to keep my license. And that's what happens, okay? That's how they get a lot of practitioners by the balls, okay? Indoctrination, and then after you've spent all this money and worked for so many years for this license, who's trying to lose it? But this really made me think a lot because I'm just like, people have no idea. You know what I'm saying? You have people who are sleeping with, machines all around their head, okay? If you have something like on, let's say in your apartment, in your house, your bed is next to a wall. One thing that is really damaging is if you have a refrigerator on the other side of that wall. So somebody, if there's a refrigerator against a wall and there's on the other side of that wall there's a bed, that is exposing that person to extremely damaging electromagnetic fields. Okay? When it comes to your health, what you don't see and what you don't know can hurt you. And so I wish the best for Michael Strahan's daughter. But to me, the brain tumor she has is a aggressive, okay, fast-growing brain tumor. And brain tumors and brain cancer is also severely on the rise in young people, okay? Almost everything you look up is on the rise in young people. So, yeah, when you look it up, it says pediatric brain cancer is the childhood cancer, is the biggest problem in the community of childhood cancer, okay? More children under the age of 19 are diagnosed with brain tumors and dying from them than ever before, okay? So, for me, I've always asked myself, but why is that? Why is this an epidemic? Why is that an epidemic? Where is this coming from? Why is this person's body not, I always ask why. When you get educated to become a nurse or a doctor or a pharmacist, they don't teach you to ask why. They don't want you to ask that. They want you to say, oh, this person has this problem. What are the treatments? And these treatments aren't about bringing the body back into balance or addressing the issue. Okay, and a lot of times it's cause other issues. And so for me, if I knew, I actually had a cousin that had a brain tumor when I was like 12 years old. She was grown. She had surgery and she survived it, thankfully. But, going through the treatments destroyed her fertility. And you see that with Isabella Strahan, where she's had to harvest her eggs, to try to save her fertility, because when you go through that kind of chemo and radiation, it a lot of times destroys it. And if I knew somebody who had a brain tumor, I would definitely be like, okay, first of all, cannabis, okay, cannabis is extremely effective with tumors and with the brain. And one of my friends who really started to teach me about cannabis medicine, his girlfriend had a brain tumor for some years, and he was using cannabis medicine to treat her. And some of it was applications directly to the scalp, right? I would stay away from, and I'm not saying that Isabella Strahan, I don't know anything about her background, but I'm just saying if I knew somebody that had brain cancer and I'm giving them, it would be like, okay, no chemicals in your hair, no dyes, none of that. No cell phones, no Bluetooth technology. I would even want them to be touching a cell phone that often, okay? Diligent about the food that you're eating and making sure there's no MSG in it. And like I said, you heard me read through those lists of ingredients, which is in almost everything if you're just buying regular food, okay? That needs to be totally eliminated. Like if somebody is fighting cancer, it is critical to cut out all carcinogens. I would say, do you have plugins? Do you have, are you burning incense or scented candles? Or do you have plugins or perfumes? All of that stuff is really toxic and can be toxic for the brain. I would be looking at all those things and eliminating it, okay? Completely eliminating it. And giving the body a high dose of things that kill cancer cells. Okay. So, yeah, I just had to say that because I was thinking about it a lot, and I'm very much aware of cell-phone radiation and how bad it is for your brain. But see, even with me, now again, I said, I don't believe in trying to solve one problem by causing another. So even when I work out, I don't have the Bluetooth headphones. But if I don't have the Bluetooth headphones, I have to hold the phone on my body. And if I'm putting the phone on my body, right here, or on my hips, it's exposing my body to a lot of radiation. And there's been an increase in breast cancer in women who are putting cell phones in their bra, which is crazy to me. And what they say is that the tumors, they're seeing the tumors develop right where the woman had the cell phones. Whereas like breast cancer, the tumors used to be in the outer breast and deeper, and now they're more in the center and more external, and you're seeing women with several tumors. And that's happening from putting the cell phone there. You know what I'm saying? And areas that are fatty and like watery, like the testes, the breast, or even the brain, are super susceptible to being fried by cell phone radiation. And this is at a time when we're so addicted. And to the people with kids, you have no idea how much you are exposing your children to highly, mutating and toxic radiation. Now, if a parent must give a child an iPad, if you put it on airplane mode, where it's not sending and receiving signals, then you won't be getting exposed to that radiation. But as long as it's not on airplane mode and it's sending and receiving signals and connecting to cell phone towers and stuff, it is highly damaging. And so I know no parent wants to hear that their child has cancer. I know that no person wants to hear that they have cancer. And every kind of cancer is on the rise. So to me, that's why I don't play. Okay? I don't play with the chemicals in the air. I don't play with what I put on my skin. I don't play with the food I eat. I'm not eating any food that somebody used adobo, Goya, bouillon cubes. None of that. None of it. Because with cancer, the more you add various cancer-causing, which they're called carcinogens, okay, let's say somebody has Glade plugins in their house. They have air freshener in their car. They might even use cologne every day. They're cleaning with regular cleaning products, putting on regular lotion on their skin, talking on their cell phone all the time, you know, and that person ends up with cancer. It's not shocking. And it's not just about food. People keep talking about the food, the food, the food. Yes, the food is a problem. But all the things in your environment, the air you breathe, the food you eat, the water you drink, the stuff you're putting on, all of that matters. Okay? And, yeah, so I'm going to leave that there. I was going to save this to my subscriptions, but I think maybe I'll save it for the general public and get more into depth in this conversation. I'll do a part 2 of this conversation in my subscriptions on Instagram. So if you're on Instagram, you don't follow me on YouTube, be sure to follow me at The Body Scientist 81 on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube and you don't follow me on Instagram, be sure to follow me on Instagram. And in my subscriptions, I will get more into depth on this topic. Okay? Because like I said, I'm always a nerd about it, always researching. And always free to work with clients. Okay? So if you're ever interested in working with me or doing an evaluation, definitely email me directly, thebodyscientist81@gmail.com, or hit me on Instagram. Hopefully you learned something from this video. If you did, please like it, please share it. Please be very careful and cautious about, cell phone radiation and electromagnetic fields in general. The other thing I will say about cell phone radiation is that it's worse when you're in the car. When you're in something that's moving, the cell phone has to use a lot more power and radiation to constantly connect to cell phone towers, okay? So you're exposing yourself to more radiation. You're exposing yourself to more radiation when you're on Wi-Fi on an airplane. You're exposing yourself to more radiation when you're talking on the phone and there's not good reception, okay? And so being very cautious, like if you're going to have your phone in your pocket, it's better to put it on airplane mode. But everybody's so addicted to their phones and like getting messages right now, and everybody wants you to answer right now, that people just got it, you're sleeping by it, okay? Having it in your pocket, it's bad. So even with myself, I've known this for a long time, but I feel like I'm going to have to be even more diligent about getting my cell phone away from me. When I'm in my house now, I'm not even going to talk on headphones. I'm just going to put on the damn speakerphone, keep the phone away from me. Even holding the phone too much sometimes, I feel like my hands, like I can feel it in my hands. And it makes me wonder, are we going to start seeing hand cancer soon from holding the cell phone so much? So, anyhow, I think I made my point. And I'm always researching. There's a lot more to say. And I will get further into this on my subscription side of my IG page. Okay? Thank you for listening. I hope that you guys are good, that your family is good. I hope that Michael Strahan's daughter pulls out of it. But it's like, you have all these celebrities have kids with serious health, with heart problems, heart surgery, this problem, that problem. This is the sickliest group of kids that's ever been on the planet since we've been here. They're sick. There's a lot of different, everything's an epidemic, everything. People keep talking about obesity. Forget about obesity. What about all these cancers? Okay? What about all this autism? All this, AD, everything. Everything's a freaking epidemic. Alright, so I'm going to leave that there. Follow me everywhere. And if you learned something from this, share it. Please subscribe, like it, all of that. And I'll see you guys later, okay? Bye.